You're listening to the Coaching Life Podcast.
What's up? Welcome to Coaching Life. This is Pat Martin. I am not with my buddy Coach Chris Stewart. I'm actually sitting at my dining room table at my house.
Yeah, ironically enough, you're calling in, and I have the studio with me today in Myrtle Beach, South Carolina. How about that?
You're right. In sunny, dry.
Well, you got half of that right. It's sunny, but it's not dry. So, yeah, we have really beautiful weather here today. It's 61 degrees and it's sunshine. You're going to hear the wind blowing in the microphone. But it rained for 42 hours straight when we got here. They played 1.5 ball games. Well, a game in 3 innings. And they got called, and I mean, there was water starting to set up on the field. It was just a mess. And so they were off all day yesterday because of the rain. And I mean, it just didn't stop. And I tell you what's amazing about these fields down here, and just all this red. There's a reason why everybody up north wants the red clay. They want to buy it, because I'm telling you what, these fields there's a live feed camera on every field that they're playing on down here.
Yeah, they're awesome.
And if you looked at that live cam last night at about 10 o'clock, these fields were underwater. And I'm not talking about there's a little bit of mud, or some puddles. They were underwater, weren't they? You looked at them, didn't you, Pat?
Yeah, I can attest to that. They were bad. And
we showed up here this morning, and they threw the first pitch at noon, but they were out here warming up by 10:30. And
well, it's not just the top; it's the sand face.
Yeah.
That's what you're on, just a bunch of sand right now. The water just soaks down through.
Yeah, it's a good surface. And right now with this wind blowing and the sunshine out, it's every minute it's just drying out even more. So we've got a lot of ball in front of us today. They're actually going to let them make up the games that they missed, and so they're going to play 3 today and 3 tomorrow. So
they'll play a bunch of them.
We're settling in here today, and I couldn't be more giddy about it. Love it.
Giddy. That's the you're kind of stealing my thunder, because
No way.
A little bit. I'm recuperating from some kind of stomach bug right now, but I was laying in bed yesterday and I was thinking, you and your wife April traveled 500 miles Tuesday evening into Wednesday morning to go down there to Myrtle Beach to watch your daughter Kaylee play softball for Waynesburg in the Fast Pitch Dream Spring Classic. That's what it's called, right?
That's it. You got it.
You took vacation to go down there.
Yep.
Drove through the night. Didn't get any sleep.
Nope. Left at about 10:30 and drove all the way through. Stopped one time.
Got to watch Kaylee have a couple at bats and pitch an inning. And then it started to pour down the rain.
That's exactly right.
And then it rained Thursday. And you're kind of still waiting there to watch her play.
Yep, she should be pitching the second game.
And you're giddy.
Oh yeah, because I see where you're going with this.
Yeah, I'm just saying.
You're trying to transition into our topic of conversation today, aren't you?
There you go. Can you imagine the aggravation or the frustration and disappointment in a lot of people's mind and the way they behave if they experience what you experienced their last couple of days for their 10-year-old son or daughter?
Yeah, Kaylee, she was throwing the second game. She's a pitcher. She was throwing the second game, and that's the one that got called in the third inning. We were up 3-0. Her first collegiate batter she faced, she struck her out. She was in a groove. She was pitching well, and just got rained out. So now she's going to throw the second one again here. So she's sitting the bench right now, and I am giddy because I'm getting to watch the team play some ball, and that's awesome. What it's about. Yeah. Yeah. And she's in there cheering her team on like crazy. So.
I think people would say it's a different scenario because, Kaylee's playing college softball.
Sure.
She's an adult now. It's a different situation. But You don't enjoy watching Kaylee play now any less than what you did when she was 10.
Oh yeah. Yeah, it's always, obviously when you have kids playing, it's always a lot more fun when they're on the field,
Sure.
And you get a chance to, you have something personal invested right there, But I tell you, I tell you something else that's cool. And maybe this is just the kind of person I am as well. I was standing over there getting ready for our game to start, and this elderly gentleman walks up with a lawn chair, and he sets up right in front of where I was standing. And he's like, "Oh, I'm sorry, sir. I didn't realize. I didn't know. Didn't mean to set up in front of me." I said, "Oh no, go ahead. You're blocking the wind from me here. Anyway, I got shorts on, by the way. I've refused to put on long pants. We're down here in the South, so it's still a little chilly. April and I walked up with shorts on, and people were like, you guys, it's not really that warm. I'm like, well, yeah, heck yeah, it's warm. But go back to this guy that's standing in front of me. Turns out he just lives nearby here. And he doesn't have a kid playing or anything. He said, "Oh, I tell you, I just love." He said, "Every time I hear noise, like there's coming from these fields over here, I come over here to watch. I just absolutely love watching ball games. And he's just over here just taking it all in. He just loves watching the game. He doesn't have anybody here playing." And
yeah, it sounds like something crazy's happening right now.
There is. We're up to bat, and there was a ball hit to the infield, girl at second base. And she got hung up in a little bit of a rundown, but she was safe at third. So now we got. Yep.
Well, we came across an article written in 2015 by a man named John Sullivan.
Mm-hmm.
It's on this website, changingthegameproject.com. And the title of the article is "The 4 Biggest Problems in Youth Sports Today." Essentially, the article kind of summarizes how adults make youth sports more about them than about their kids.
Yeah.
And I wanted to open there just pointing out the way that you're approaching today, and I knew that you were excited about it, before we came on the air. But why do I always say that coming on the air? We're really not on the air. We're recording.
We're just recording this, and
someday we'll be on ESPN or something.
There you go.
But John Sullivan, he mentions he goes through basically 4 problems that he sees in youth sports, and I think if you read the article, you could kind of tell he's talking about this from experience. But the first problem that he mentions, Coach, is parents who won't let the game belong to the kids.
Yeah.
And we've talked about parents being upset about playing time or position or whatnot a lot on the podcast. And of course, all the ways we as parents interject ourselves into the games with our behavior and emotion, how silly that sometimes is, a lot of times can be. But yeah, I feel like there's a question that came to me when I read that topic. And the question is, I was thinking, when my kids are in their rooms, they like to play the Xbox, PS4 a little bit.
Uh-huh.
And when I say a little bit, I mean a lot. I feel a lot different when I see my kids fail on the baseball field or on the basketball floor than when I see them fail in Fortnite.
Yeah. You don't care as much about them failing at Fortnite, do you?
No, absolutely not. And I wonder how many people, have that thought of, I don't know, board games or card games or, a game of tag or, some kind of silly game that you're playing in a family reunion. Why those games don't mean as much to us as adults. But when it comes to youth sports, those games seem to mean everything to us.
They do. They do. It's that's an interesting thing to ponder because I think the only way to answer it is if we're honest with ourselves. We have to say that it's a status symbol. No one else cares about what your kid does with Fortnite either. Not just you. No one really knows about it. They're in their own room playing, and everybody plays a little Fortnite and everything. The truth is, everybody plays a little bit of baseball. Everybody plays a little softball too. But there's a lot of social. There's a social sort of a social science study here, I think that we could do when it comes to the status, our status among our friends and our ability to put our kids' accomplishments on social media and to talk about it at parties and at work when they're playing for a team. You know, in the age of social media where everything's on Facebook nowadays, for, you know, mom and dads and grandparents are putting that, you're already seeing it right now. You know, the spring's just beginning, and you're seeing everybody, you know, and I'm just as guilty as anybody else. You know, my kids' first college at bat, my kids' first college, you know, experience on the mound, whatever. And there's something. You're not posting that about your kid playing Fortnite, but there's something, and I think the reason why maybe is because there's something about the status of it. Do you think that there's something to that? I mean, that we're excited about the things that people might say, the reactions, you know, and so therefore when they fail at those, we get just as upset because our kids don't look as good, which means we don't look as good. I don't know.
Yeah.
I mean, at some point, basically what you're saying is at some point along the way, meaning us adults, we have taken the game away from our kids and we've made it about us. And that is the root of the cause of why we get so emotionally invested in their games and their failures and successes.
Yeah, it's kind of an expansion of the old idea of, you know, kind of living through your kid.
Yeah.
Living through your kid's successes and whatnot.
Yeah.
Kind of the same idea there, you know, maybe on a little bit bigger scale of, you know, how do people think about me based on how my kid performs on a sports field, on a sports, in a sports venue.
I mean, the article that you're talking about, it opens up basically referencing an issue that took place with a volleyball team, right? I'm assuming it was like a travel organization or a league where a young lady was on a team where, according to the parent, she was promised by the coach that she would play a certain position, the position of setter, and that she would get a certain amount of playing time. And because she wasn't getting that playing time, basically they're saying the coach lied to her. The parents tried to get the girl to leave the team to go to another team. The coach was going to allow her to do it, but the league said that she couldn't. So therefore, the parents hired a lawyer to sue the organization. Right now, think about. I mean, as I'm explaining this, you're laughing? Doesn't that sound ridiculous?
Yeah.
But it really happened, and so that's what that provides the basis for this whole article, and it just seems so ludicrous to even think about that idea. But there's a lot of problems packed into that whole scenario, isn't there? And it's not just the parents' issue either. I mean, it's, you know, first of all, if you're coaching an organization and you promise anyone before the season comes,
that's a bad
sign up for your team, and I promise you're going to get to play this position or that. You're going to get that much playing time. First of all, if you're a kid and you have a coach that promises you that, if you want to be recruited and a college coach promises you a certain thing or that, don't go there, because I'll tell you right now, they're lying to you. There is no way they can promise you anything.
It may end up being true, but it's not based on the promise.
Absolutely not. It's based.
Right.
That promise is given to you to get you to commit to them, and that's it.
And honestly, that's a good segue into. It's actually the third problem that the article mentions, but I say we go ahead and shift to that.
Yeah, go ahead.
And it's coaches. The problem is coaches who fail to respect the kids in the sport and ignore the massive impact they have on athletes' lives.
Mm-hmm.
I would say a coach that sits down and makes a promise like that is thinking about what's best for the program and what's going to give me the best chance to win.
To win, yeah. And really, almost, you know, you say what's best for the program, but when I think of the program, I think well, we should always be doing what's best for the program.
Right.
I think more. I think what you meant was, he's thinking about more what's best for this season. You know, well, I mean, really, you said it. What's going to help me to win, right?
Well, here's the thing: if you're thinking about winning, then what is best for the program probably isn't what's really best for the program.
Yeah,
you know what I'm saying?
Yeah, if you think
that's best
right.
for the program, is it really what's best? And
well, and I think the point is you're not thinking about the kid. You don't have the kid's best interest in mind. Yeah.
What makes you a good coach?
I am focused on coaching the person and helping them be as successful as they can be, not only right now, today on this team, but for the rest of their lives. That's today what makes me feel like I'm a good coach.
Yep, exactly. I have in my notes here, you have to coach the person, which is exactly what you just said. And I knew that would be familiar to you.
Right.
Chapter 3 of Building Champions. But
there you go.
If you're coaching the person, you have an opportunity to be a great coach. I always said that I was undefeated through 2 years of 6U baseball. That's
I didn't even know kids played baseball at 6U.
they hit off a tee and they don't keep score.
Yeah.
But it's just a joke of saying,
wait a minute. Who doesn't keep score?
We didn't keep score.
Well, Mom and Dad up there in the bleachers knew what the score. Any given moment in those games, you ask, what's the score? And there's a mom or a dad that knows, buddy.
Someone may have, but believe it or not, when I first started coaching my son, my expectations were very low, and I just wanted to enjoy him watching him play.
That's great.
That changed very quickly once he got a little bit older.
Yeah, as the stakes get higher, man. You know what I think is actually funny? I think it's kind of I think if we were to create a shape to this, like a graph to it, I think life starts out that way with our kids in the really young ages. Like you said, you just love you're just so excited to be able to watch them play, and you're not really that concerned because it doesn't make that big of a deal when it's in 6U. But then that curve starts to those stakes start to raise a little bit as they get older, and it seems like 12U. 10U, 11U, 12U, 13U, those are like the crazy years. Like they're crazy high, and then they get into high school, and it may still climb a little bit. But one of the things I've noticed is, and now that I have kids in college, I've relaxed quite a bit, to be honest. And I look at a dad like Rich Dobnak, Randy Dobnak's dad, who we had on our podcast, and Randy is now playing for the Minnesota Twins. They're actually talking about him possibly being the 4th or 5th starter, and he's having a really good preseason. And Rich, even though he's a pretty laid back guy, he all the way through Randy's youth, but I think I love watching him on social media because he's just enjoying it. He's like, you know what? If Randy plays for the Twins, great. If not, he's just doing his thing. That's kind of his quote. Randy's just out there doing his thing. And it seems like that curve, that it starts to come back down, as they get older. And I don't know if that's because everybody's so, I don't know what the benchmark is, what the high point is. What's the climax of this? Is it we want our kids to get that college offer, and once they get the offer, we can relax? I mean, maybe that's it. Maybe that's the stopping point of it, where that...
You're probably right. You're probably right, because most, we know from statistics that, most high school athletes aren't going to go on to play Division I college sports. We know that they're definitely not going to go on to play professional sports. Right. So that the professional.
Yeah, you're talking about a 0.1 something percentage of that. Yeah.
Yeah. That's not a level that you have to obtain for that status that we were talking about earlier. No one's measuring you on that.
Right.
But it's probably thought that if my kid makes it to college, to play college ball, then maybe that status is ticked up a little bit.
It satisfies something in the parent, in the mom and dad.
Or at the same time, if your kid doesn't go play college ball, you realize that it didn't matter. Anyway.
Then it's over.
Right.
Yeah. And then you can go to the park and you can watch all the other crazy people, right? And then you can start making judgments like what you're.
Exactly. That's a good point.
To go back to that point about the whole college offer being sort of the driving thing that increases the stress of this experience. We're seeing more and more, I'm seeing it, firsthand right now, actually, because there's some pretty good athletes in girls in the girls softball junior high divisions, those levels right now, and I'm hearing more and more people talk about college with girls coming up into junior high, 6th grade, 7th grade, and so we're talking about 12, 13-year-old girls, and parents are talking about college with them and what they're going to need to do to go to college and play. And that worries me a little bit, and I know it's nothing new. I know it's, and if I'm honest with myself, I did the same thing with my own, certainly with my son, because I can remember standing there when they were 12U, and we stood after we had just played one of the best teams in the state of Ohio in a travel tournament, and we told them, guys, here's the here's the standard right here, what we just played. These kids are probably all going to be Division I scholarship offers. So if that's what you want, we got to raise our level of play to them. And I remember having that conversation with our kids when they were 12. And I wonder, standing in that circle, we had about 4 coaches out there too. I bet there were 4 people in that circle who were thinking about college in that moment. Those 4 adults.
Yeah.
I bet we were the only ones, And because I'm guessing those other 12 kids, those 12-year-old kids, they're probably thinking about how quickly they could get in the pool when they got back to the hotel, And I just think this whole idea of playing ball in college has just overtaken everything. It's the whole reason for travel ball, travel tournaments, perfect game, a perfect game, pastime, Under Armour and all these things. They get these kids to come to these showcases. They pay billions of dollars for, every summer to do all this stuff. And it's all driven by, you're going to get to go play in college. And that starts way too young, It starts way too young. And it's why, I mean, what else would somebody sue an organization?
Right.
I think the article even mentioned that maybe the whole reason for that was that they wanted their girl to get exposure, wanted her to be noticed by college recruiters. And the point was, well, I guarantee you this, she got noticed when you made her get noticed, and it wasn't in a positive way.
True. And you wonder about that, putting that much effort into reaching that level of college ball, but how much effort, and I'm not saying nobody does this, but I bet you the large majority don't think this way. How much effort are they putting into their study?
That's true.
Because once you get to college and you're playing that sport, that's really not the most important thing in your life.
No, it is not.
It's hard, and you gotta be focused on it. You gotta work hard at it. But the most important thing at that point, from a development perspective, I'd say, is how you fare in your college courses.
Yeah. Because if it's not the most important thing, you're not going to be playing college ball for long.
Well, exactly. That's a good point too.
I mean, that Brock's got to. I won't be specific, but there are players who come in the fall. They're there, and then the springtime rolls around, and you're like, "Hey, where's so and so? Why aren't they with the team?" And the answer is, not eligible. You can't play if you don't know how to be a college student, if you don't know how to study, if you don't know how to do the work.
Exactly.
Oh, we're about to score. We're about to score, buddy. Bring her around.
Are we up 1-0?
Hey, yes, we're on the board. It's been a pitcher's duel. All right. You're getting excited over there. I'm about 50 feet or so from the field. I found myself a picnic table to go sit on. So,
are people sitting around wondering who this guy is?
Well, I actually do. I've got a studio mic, and so I'm sitting here with a microphone in my hand and headphones on, and I've had a couple of people turn around and look, but they can't hear me though, so that's good.
Oh, okay.
Right. There's enough distance between me, but I've gotten a couple looks though.
We should have had cards so you could have handed them out down there.
That's right. I should just be sitting up there in the stands and just talking to people, right? Just asking, a little bit
What do
of
you think about it?
What's that?
How you feeling right now? Yeah.
Yeah, right. Yeah, the girl who just dropped the fly ball in right field. Mom, how you feeling right now? She just gave up a run.
Oh, was it an error?
Yeah.
Oh,
Yeah, it
boy.
probably was. I tell you though, it's an adventure out there. Anything hitting the air is going to be an adventure because there's a pretty strong wind blowing.
Hey,
it's blowing
what
in.
What a great segue though, because problem number 2 is athletes need to own their decision, both good and bad.
Yeah.
I'm not so sure there's a whole lot of situations that fits, because he uses a scenario of a kid picking a team and not being happy with it. I don't think that happens all that too much.
Right. I don't either.
I would say instead of owning the decision, own the situation.
Yes.
You know, and how many times in youth sports does our kid or our players as coaches make a mistake, and we immediately correct the mistake, or we try to remove them from the pain of that mistake? You know what I mean? And what we're doing when we do that is we're removing the opportunity for them to learn from that experience and get better from that experience. We're stealing that opportunity away from them.
Yeah, and it's going to be one of not while you're going through it. It's not, and it's hard, but it's going to be in the long run one of the best experiences because of the learning that takes place. One of the best experiences that she or he could have. And it's just so hard to allow them to have it, and it's so hard to allow them to go through it, you know. But owning that decision or owning those mistakes is a huge thing for their development. Do you follow Drew Bailey? He's a softball coach, a collegiate softball coach. I don't remember.
I'm not for sure
who he's. I saw a tweet. It may have been this morning. I think it was actually tweeted last night. Their team played and they lost 4-1. And this girl, he retweeted a tweet from one of the players on his team, and he had a comment about it. But the girl's tweet said something like this: "We lost 4-1 today, and we gave up 4 unearned runs. And I was the reason for 2 of those because I made an error in the field and I struck out with runners on base and could have tied the game up at one point or whatever." So she basically talked about her mistakes, and he retweeted that and said, "This is what I love about my team this year, is that these are the things that you never see kids tweet about. You never see mom and dad tweet about this. This is why I love this team and why I love this player, because she recognizes she's owning it, and because she's owning it, she's going to be better for it. Her team is going to appreciate her more for it. She's holding herself accountable for her own mistakes, and we are going to be a better team because she's doing this. Basically,
she's going to be a better player.
She's going to better player, better person, and it's all about. I mean, that's the whole point we're making right here.
That's a leader.
The only way to get better is to walk through that kind of stuff.
Yeah. We take it away, and I that status point you made, that's real good. I think that's a challenging point to people. I don't think people would want to talk about that very much.
Yeah, I think we would deny. We would quickly deny it. I think because everything inside of us wants to say, "Oh, come on, I don't really care about my 10-year-old."
Right.
But we talk about living through them. That's a form of living. It really is a form of living through them.
Yeah, and that's why we react so quickly and immediately to those situations. When they fail, or maybe when things aren't going well for them. You know what I mean? And here's the thing. We can have an impact on that situation, help correct the situation, away from the field, away from the court, But people don't see that interaction. They don't see that work or correction.
Right.
So that type of effort doesn't impact your status.
That's true. It's private, isn't it? Yeah.
Yeah, but that's the effort that's going to have the most impact.
Right.
And not only that, you're probably going to be able to approach it a much better way privately than you would in the heat of the moment anyway.
Yeah.
So you're going to be, you're going to have better effort in that situation than you would.
Yeah.
But because it's public, because people can't see you visibly angry or visibly upset about, your kid missing a foul shot, it doesn't matter as much. Huh.
That's the truth.
But I agree. I don't think people would like that
that theory too much.
I
don't know. I'm not for sure I like it all
right.
that much.
No. I mean,
maybe that makes it true.
Yeah, I don't know if you have the article in front of you, Pat. I'm sitting in a ballpark, but if I remember right, as it was coming down to the conclusion of the article, the author was talking about how if we are the ones to blame, talking to adults, talking to moms and dads, and not just moms and dads, but all the adults who stand around and watch this kind of thing, have watched our youth sports get taken away from the kids and brought into the hands of the adults. Basically, he was saying, we're all to blame for this. We've all stood by and allowed, the sports to become, I think, adultized or something like that, or adultified is what he said, and professionalized. Professionalized. I mean, in many ways, these kids look like they're carrying, helmets and bags and 4 sets of uniforms. Everything's on the most beautiful field. It's become professionalized. There's not enough, free play and things like that. And it's not, and he said this, I won't forget this, it's not a sin of commission, like not for most of us, we're not the ones committing the sin, but we're the ones standing by and watching it happen and not changing, not doing anything to change it. And
sin of omission.
Omission, yes. And I think that's where that's where this gets really relevant for you and me and for this Coaching Life podcast and for what our desire is. Just a really deep fly ball hit to left with a runner on first. We're in the field now. She went back and caught it at the wall. Excellent. Out of the inning. Okay. But anyway, the point of it being people are standing around and not doing anything about it, that hits me because that's why you and I do what we do with this podcast. That's why we're trying to start an organization, a player development organization, a player development team that hopefully will one day become an organization, because we don't want to just stand by anymore and watch this happen. We want to provide an affordable, relaxed environment for kids of younger ages who are not thinking about college right now, who are not concerned about who college coaches are frankly not concerned about recruiting right now. And just let them learn the game, increase in their skills and their love and their passion for the game without so much unnecessary pressure that comes from, the professionalization of it or the adultification of it. So
absolutely, yeah. Problem 4 was youth sports organizations that serve adults and not the kids.
There it is.
I would say that a lot of people sit around and complain and blame their recreational league or travel organization commissioner, who is leading their travel organizations. They'll blame them for the way things are being ran.
Yeah.
But at the same time, those people are handicapped by the adults that they are surrounded by, and they can only run the league as well as the people around them allow them to run.
Yeah.
So, there's adults that are looking for certain things in what their kids experience, in youth sports. And commissioners and presidents and officers of these leagues and organizations, they have to abide within those guidelines, that infrastructure that is created by what I would say the majority voice, or the louder, not necessarily the majority voice, but the louder voice. Right?
Yeah.
And what we do a lot of times as parents is we stand by. We don't say anything. We kind of, we'll complain and we'll say things need to change, but there's no one there to initiate the change.
How many times have you heard that recently? I mean, everybody listening right now, how many times have you heard or maybe even said those words, things need to change, in the last 3-4 years?
Right.
Something's got to change. We can't continue doing it the same way. And maybe the reason it happens is because everyone, it's just like everything else in the world. We don't know what we can do. We don't really feel like the change needs to take place on a larger scale or at a higher level, and we don't think there's anything we can do. I'll tell you what, there is something you can do. You can choose not to put your kids in those kinds of organizations, and you can choose not to spend $1,500 a summer when they're 10 years old, and instead give them a chance to play somewhere. And maybe you start a development program. Maybe you start going down to the park and saying, hey, kids, I'm going to be down here every evening from 6 o'clock to 7:30. Anybody wants to come down and play, I'll provide a place for you. You know, problem is all of our parks these days are professionalized too. All of our fields, you know, so we got to figure that out too. But there are things we can do, and that's kind of what you and I are doing, right? I mean, even our own efforts that we set out to do, we're scaling those. We're talking right now about scaling that back even more, right?
Right.
For some of the same reasons. Maybe we did have the idea to go to too many travel tournaments. I mean, that's actually one of the things that article talks about at the end, doesn't it? You know, it says instead of going to 7 travel tournaments, you know, stay close to home and play, practice more often, and maybe go to 1 travel tournament. You know,
let that be free play.
Yeah. And I you know what, I like that. I like that. You're going to have just as good of a chance to go play in college if that's what you choose to do as a 12-year-old group of kids.
Yeah, I think you're right. I think you're right about that. For sure.
Yeah, I'm pretty confident in that statement. Actually, at this point, I wouldn't have been when my kid was 12, but I didn't know. I mean, it was just as true then as it is now, but I didn't know. I didn't have anybody, you know, telling me. And so if I can be that person to offer that to somebody else, then that's my hope. So
that's good stuff. I think just to summarize, and you know, we'll cut her a little short here today, so you can get back.
It's getting exciting now, buddy. I'm half with you, and I'm half watching the game because we're back up to bat, and it's getting down to the late innings here.
Well, here's the thing, and you know, people could poo-poo, you know, the conversation here today, say, well, it's just youth sports, but if something would get stolen from our children,
that's the point. It's just youth sports. Sorry, I didn't mean to interrupt you, but
no, that is, right. You're right. It's just youth sports. And we're allowing ourselves to steal that opportunity from our kids. Mm-hmm. We're doing it ourselves, though. Yeah. If something would get stolen from our kids, it would enrage us. It would infuriate us.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, someone steals your kid's bike, their Xbox, right?
Yeah, definitely. Yeah. Right? We'd be appalled, disgusted. We're stealing an experience away from our kids that they will never be able to experience again. Mm-hmm. And it's a great experience. There's majesty involved in it. There's just a greatness about youth sports that you just can't find, you know, very easy in life.
Yeah.
Especially once it's gone. We need not steal that opportunity from our children. And we need to do what we can to make sure it doesn't get stolen from them.
I'm with you, man. I'm with you.
We'll wrap it up.
Wow. Sorry. Their left fielder just made a play. I'm sorry. We had a runner on first base, and this girl hit a line drive to left field, and this girl laid out parallel to the ground and caught the ball. I don't know if you guys heard that.
Listen, she wouldn't have caught that thing if it had been dry down there.
That's right.
She knew her fall was going to be cushioned.
That's right.
Hey, thanks for joining the Coaching Life. Coach, you going to sign off from Myrtle Beach?
I will sign off from Myrtle Beach. And I got 2 more games to watch here and 3 more tomorrow, and then we'll hit the road and come back to I hear it's sunny and beautiful Ohio, right? It's raining. My dad called me yesterday and said, hey, I've already washed the truck. It's 67 degrees and beautiful. I said, just shut up.
Yeah,
I don't want to hear that.
We must have changed because it's not. I think winter has come back.
It's returning. Okay.
Friday.
So everything's back to normal now.
Right.
It's nice where I'm sitting here in the South, and Ohio's back to Ohio. Okay.
Yeah, order has been restored.
That's right. So, well, no, thanks. Hey, I'm glad we got a chance to record this week so we can put something out for everybody. I'm telling you, we're committed to this. We're not missing a week, are we?
And
we'll do whatever it takes. We'll take it on the road if we have to.
We went through some struggles this week.
Yeah, we did.
We
had Michael Deegan scheduled finally, and during the time we had to change the day, and the podcast studio was booked solid from 8 in the morning to 10 at night. And Coach Deegan was like, let's just try after the baseball season, because the one time that he could actually do it, we couldn't do it. So, oh well. We'll get him.
Yeah, we'll get him. Coach, thanks.
Yeah.
Good luck.
Thank you. It's good talking to you, brother.
You too, man.